Jack sat in his car outside his former office building, staring at the cardboard box on his passenger seat. 15 years with the company. Gone. Inside that box was a coffee mug, some photos, and a plaque that said Employee of the Year 2019. He drove home in silence, rehearsing how he'd tell his wife. When he walked through the door, she was already packing her bags. She'd been planning to leave for months. She was just waiting for the right moment. Apparently, this was it. 2 weeks later, his bank account hit zero. The mortgage payment bounced. His phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from creditors he couldn't face. He was 43 years old and everything he'd built was gone. Job, marriage, savings, house. He moved into his brother's basement and spent his days scrolling job boards, applying to anything, hearing nothing back. Jack told himself he'd get back on his feet quickly. He had experience, skills, a good resume. But 3 months passed and he couldn't even get an interview. His confidence disappeared. He stopped shaving, stopped exercising, started drinking more than he should. His brother would come downstairs and find him still in bed at 2 in the afternoon. The worst part wasn't the loss. It was the shame. The feeling that everyone who knew him was watching him fail. He'd lie awake at night running through everything he'd done wrong. Should have seen the layoffs coming. Should have saved more money. Should have worked on his marriage instead of ignoring the problems. Should have. The regret was crushing. He felt like he was drowning and nobody could help him because he'd done this to himself. One morning, 6 months after losing his job, Jack woke up and couldn't get out of bed. Not because he was tired. Because he saw no point. That's when he realized he had a choice to make. He could stay in that basement and let this break him permanently, or he could do something different. Not something big. He didn't have the energy for big. Something small. He remembered reading once that you can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you do next. So he made a decision. He'd control one thing that day. Just one. He got up, took a shower, and went for a walk. That's it. No job applications. No grand plan. Just a shower and a 20-minute walk around the neighborhood. The next day, he did it again. Shower, walk. Day 3, same thing. It felt pointless at first. A shower and a walk weren't going to pay his bills, weren't going to fix his life. But something strange happened around day 7. He noticed he felt slightly less terrible. Not good. Just less terrible. That was enough to keep going. Week 2, he added something else. After his walk, he'd spend 30 minutes learning a new skill online. Not because he had a master plan. Because sitting in that basement all day was killing him and he needed something to focus on besides his failures. He chose digital marketing. Picked it randomly because the course was free and he'd always been curious about it. The learning was hard. His brain felt foggy from months of doing nothing. But he showed up every day. Shower, walk, 30 minutes of learning. Some days he retained nothing. Other days, something would click and he'd actually understand a concept. Those small moments of progress kept him going when everything else felt hopeless. By week 4, his brother noticed the change. Jack was getting up earlier. Looked more put together. Had something to talk about at dinner besides how bad things were. His brother asked him what was different. Jack said he didn't know. He was still broke. Still unemployed. Still sleeping in a basement. But he felt like he was moving forward instead of drowning. Month 2, Jack finished the digital marketing course. He still had no job. No prospects. But he had a certificate and some basic skills. He thought about what he could do with them. He didn't have money to start a business. Didn't have connections in the industry. What he did have was time. He started reaching out to small local businesses on social media. Coffee shops, gyms, restaurants. He offered to help them with their online presence for free, just to build experience, to have something recent on his resume. Most ignored him. A few said yes. He worked on their accounts like they were paying him thousands, posted consistently, responded to comments, tracked what worked. 3 months in, one of the businesses he'd helped for free offered to pay him. Not much. $200 a month to keep doing what he was doing. $200 wasn't enough to live on, but it was something. Proof that he could still create value. That he wasn't worthless like he'd been telling himself. He took that tiny win and used it to get another client. Then another. Within 6 months of starting his daily routine, he had 5 small clients paying him a total of $1,500 a month. Still not enough, but closer. He was building something from nothing. The interesting part was what happened to his mindset during this process. At the beginning, he'd wake up thinking about everything he'd lost. Now he woke up thinking about what he was building. The focus shifted from past to future. From what went wrong to what could go right. 1 year after losing everything, Jack had 12 clients and was making $3,500 a month. Enough to move out of his brother's basement into a small apartment. It wasn't the house he used to own. It was a 1-bedroom place above a pizza shop. But it was his. He'd earned it himself. That felt better than anything he'd had before. By month 18, he had more client requests than he could handle alone. He hired his first employee. Someone who reminded him of himself a year ago. Struggling. Overlooked. Needed a chance. They worked well together. The business grew. Not overnight. Not explosive success. Steady, sustainable growth built on consistency and doing good work. 2 years after sitting in his car with that cardboard box, Jack was running a small digital marketing agency with 4 employees and 23 clients. He wasn't rich. Wasn't back to where he was financially. But he was happy. Happier than he'd been in the decade before he lost everything. Because this time, he'd built something that mattered to him. Not just a job he showed up to. A business he cared about. A team he valued. He reconnected with his ex-wife briefly to handle some final paperwork. She barely recognized him. Not physically. Mentally. He wasn't the same person she'd left. He wasn't bitter about the divorce anymore. He told her it was probably the best thing that could have happened to him. It forced him to rebuild from scratch. To figure out who he actually wanted to be instead of just going through the motions of life. The lessons Jack learned didn't come from a book or a motivational video. They came from the process of losing everything and choosing to start over. Here's what he figured out. First, you can't control what happens to you. You can only control what you do next. When everything fell apart, he spent months trying to figure out why it happened and whose fault it was. That didn't help. What helped was deciding to take one small action, then another, then another. Control what you can control. Let go of the rest. Second, small consistent actions compound over time. A shower and a walk seem meaningless when you're broke and hopeless. But doing them daily for months rebuilt his discipline and self-respect. Learning for 30 minutes a day doesn't sound like much. But 30 minutes a day for 60 days is 30 hours of learning. That's enough to get decent at something new. Don't underestimate small actions repeated consistently. Third, rock bottom can be a foundation if you choose to build on it. Losing everything was devastating. But it also freed him from the life he'd been living on autopilot. He wasn't trying to get back to his old life. He was building a new one, better aligned with who he actually was. Sometimes you need to lose everything to figure out what actually matters. Fourth, progress isn't linear, and that's okay. Some days he moved forward. Some days he fell back. Some weeks were productive. Others were a mess. That's normal. The trend matters more than any single day. As long as you're showing up and trying, you're moving in the right direction even when it doesn't feel like it. Fifth, you don't need a perfect plan. You need a next step. Jack didn't have a roadmap for rebuilding his life. He had a shower and a walk. Then he had 30 minutes of learning. Then he had one free client. Each step revealed the next step. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. If you're going through something hard right now, here's what Jack would tell you. Don't try to fix everything at once. You can't. Pick one thing you can control today and do it. Tomorrow, do it again. The day after, do it again. Doesn't matter if it's small. Small is fine. Small is how you start. Build one habit that gives you back some control. Could be a morning walk. Could be making your bed. Could be learning something new for 20 minutes. Whatever it is, make it so easy you can do it even on your worst day. Then protect that habit like your life depends on it. Because in some ways, it does. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Commitment stays. Decide what you're going to do, then do it whether you feel like it or not. That's how you build discipline. That's how you rebuild yourself.
And remember this, losing everything doesn't mean you're finished. It means you have a chance to rebuild better, stronger, more intentional. Jack lost his job, his marriage, his house, and his savings. What he gained was himself, the real version, not the one going through the motions, the one who knows what he's capable of when everything's on the line. You're stronger than you think. You just haven't needed that strength yet. When you do, it'll be there. Start tomorrow. One small thing. Then build from there.